So Franklin Saint is finally back, the cold ruthless killer that we know he can be returned, and all it took was a near death of a close one to just unleash Franklin Saint again. But I'm gonna dive deep into Manboy's death, Khadijah's death, as well as Franklin Saint's character and the story between Teddy and Irene. So welcome back to MovieBot. Let's talk Snowfall Season 4, Episode 9. So hope you're doing great, and wow, I have to put this one out there and I have to ask you guys the question, is this the greatest episode of Snowfall of all time? I was watching it and honestly, I was expecting a death in this episode, but I don't think I was expecting both Manboy and Khadijah to go out the way they did in one single episode, and on top of that Irene's death as well, and Teddy being an absolute fucking savage. But this is Snowfall for you, and this is what makes Snowfall so great. Once Snowfall does finish, I don't think they'll go to spin-offs like Power have done, but it will be 5 seasons of absolute brilliant writing, great acting performances, especially from Melvin Gregg, who plays Manboy, and I really did like his character, and it is going to be sad that he won't be there in season 5. But of course, before I dive deep into this storyline, remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Snowfall and Power Universe related. But let's get straight in with this storyline, just pick up from where we left off last week, because Franklin found out that Tanase was working with Manboy this whole time to try and get him Franklin's plug. But once Franklin Saint found out at the end of episode 8, it was written, I said it and most of you guys said it in the comment section, that Franklin will use Tanase to get to Manboy. He did exactly just this because he knew Drew Miller. He was never going to stop until he got to Franklin's plug. He was just way too dangerous. Aunt Louie knew this very early on, which is why she never wanted to side with him at the beginning of the season before the shootout at the warehouse in the second episode. But what we saw in the lead up to this episode, I thought we may just see Jerome create his own demise, going on a complete rampage and getting himself killed. But Leon stopped this from happening when he paged Franklin to come down to the projects. He stopped Jerome before he could go any further. He went as far as taking this beating from his own uncle because he knew Jerome was walking into an ambush. He knew he was going to get himself killed. He couldn't just let it happen. He'd do everything he could to stop him, so when Louis asks, he could say he really did try and do everything to stop him. And of course, Franklin wanted Khadijah as bad as Jerome did, but not like this. But this scene between the two was quite something. You could see the hurt that Jerome was feeling to actually go at his own nephew the way he did. If Franklin did step aside and let Jerome go after Manboy and Khadijah, then he definitely would have had himself killed. So Franklin was right with what he did. He was right with pretty much everything he did in this episode, which is a complete contrast to what we've been saying all season long, because he has been wrong at every turn, which is what Jerome said to him last week. But in this episode, you have to say Franklin nailed every single situation. We witnessed the cold, ruthless Franklin Saint when he forced Tanase to tell Manboy that he'll meet him and give up his plug because he doesn't want to go to war, knowing that Manboy won't fall for this bullshit. Manboy walks straight into Franklin's hands, and it goes back to what I said last week with Franklin mentioning in season 3 that he knows Manboy. He may be Manboy to y'all, but he'll always be little Drew Miller to me. And this is why he was able to get Manboy. Manboy asked Franklin while he laid on the ground, how did he know he was going to be there? Franklin said he was smart, but just not as smart as he thought he was. So let's talk about Manboy's death, and watching this scene was so gut-wrenching because of how Franklin killed him slowly, made him suffer a little, while Manboy taunted each and every single one of them, telling Jerome that he's his nephew's bitch, Franklin being a pussy whip for someone that was taking orders from him, and telling Leon that his sister can't fat back up. Even when he was staring death right in the face, Manboy taunted and taunted until Jerome told Franklin to finish him off. And Manboy is one character who I will certainly miss, even though I believe he had to go and the timing was right for him to go. Everything made sense for him to be killed off at that particular time, but Manboy is a character that I really enjoyed watching. The way he manipulated people and situations, you can liken some of his actions to the 48 laws of power that I make reference to when I do my power videos. But at the end of the day, as smart as he was never as smart as Franklin, and we'll never know what could have happened if Khadijah never turned up at Fatback's funeral and never shot Louis. So Khadijah is partly to blame for Manboy being killed in my opinion as well. But Franklin telling Tanase that she's gonna have to take the rap for this one, come up with whatever she wants to with regards to the bodies outside, but she's a good liar. Franklin washed his hands of 2 people in the space of a moment, and at that moment we knew the cold, savage Franklin Saint was back, and it was only moments till Khadijah was next. I've been saying it all season long that Franklin's head hasn't been quite right. He's been making the wrong calls, and it would take a death in his family to make him return and come back to normal, turn into this savage that we know he can be. And it was Louis being shot by Khadijah. It took Louis being hospitalized for him to come back, and they had to kill Manboy first. I was speaking to Jalil on Instagram after the episode, and he summed it up perfectly. He said if they killed Khadijah first, then Manboy would have definitely been waiting. He would have expected Franklin and he would have had his guard up. He would have been able to retaliate, but Franklin caught not just Manboy cold, but Khadijah as well. So let's talk Khadijah's death next. Khadijah called Diamond and Dallas the dancers turn into hustlers and doubled the bounty for Leon. Scully told her that she's gonna have to get get rid of this hate, and this is one character who's done a complete U-turn from the beginning of the season. The death of his baby girl really hit Scully hard. He's never been the same since. But this was followed by Louis in the hospital bed, showing why she still remains such a valuable asset to Franklin. The next target was Khadija, and Louis told them exactly how they can get to her. That's through Diamond and Dallas. All they needed to do was offer them more money, and they did this through Wanda. The plan was set. Diamond and Dallas were down with Franklin, and that's exactly how they planned to get Khadija. Leon apologized to Khadija for killing his baby girl, but there was no way Khadija was going to accept it. She was going to continue to hunt Leon down until she killed him, but there was no way of getting away from Jerome. Jerome already knew that he was going to pull the trigger. He killed her right on the spot. I actually questioned whether Khadija was actually going to be confirmed dead at this moment because she was still alive at this moment in time, but it was confirmed later on when Scully did see her body in the morgue, and just like that, Manboy and Khadija killed in one episode. I was actually surprised at Manboy's death, but it did make sense, and I do think they got the timing spot on with his death. But he's a character that brought a lot to the show, and let's see what direction they go in the next season now. But let's talk about Teddy, Irene, because this was inevitable. We could just see what was going to happen with Irene. Nasir in the comment section a few weeks ago made the reference to Gary Webb, and it played out pretty much similar to what he said. Irene gave an interview with one of the radio stations with Alton behind her. She spoke about the story that she'd published, how it was only one of a 3-part series, and how the CIA stopped it from going any further, and she was fired. But with Teddy listening in, he knew that he had to take matters into his own hands, especially after she threatened to expose him. But he was later released from his position, warning Gustavo to watch his back, have an exit plan. In a conversation with Arby, he told him that he's sticking around. He was planning to handle the situation himself with Irene, which he did by confessing everything on tape, starting with his story right from the beginning, which started in 1983 by having Irene completely drunk. I'm not sure whether he spiked her drink because they never showed it if he did, but in a drunk state she crashed a car and Teddy killed her, taking the evidence of the tape recorder with him. Of course he was never going to leave the tape with her with his full confession on. It was confirmed with a news report that Irene was dead, and now Alton, in my opinion, is next on that list. Teddy visited Franklin in the hospital to talk about his father and what they're going to do next with him, and honestly I think he is next on the list. I think Franklin could even be the one who could kill him next week because he knows way too much information and they're going to have to get rid of him. Sissy may not agree with the decision, she may not like the decision, but they're at a point of no return now. Both Teddy and Franklin knew the game they were entering, and it's crunch time. I think Franklin will kill Alton next week, but what a great episode honestly, with Franklin killing Manboy, to Jerome getting revenge on Khadija, to Teddy killing Irene. 3 deaths, Franklin Saint's ruthlessness, and more of it to come next week. But let me know what you guys thought of the episode, Manboy and Khadija's death, Teddy's role in Irene's death. Drop all your thoughts and comments down below on episode 9, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, remember to smash the subscribe button. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.